just-in-time arrival. We were a bit surprised by the change in the program, so I hope the mic is on all right. Thank you for having me here today. I chose a bold topic, reinventing retail. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Here it goes. So this was the talk at the town about a year ago. Everyone was talking about how a massive number of stores were closing, especially in the US. And people started talking about the retail apocalypse. So the end of retail as we know it, the end of brick and mortar retail. So how many of you think that brick and mortar retail is going to die or almost die within the next decade? No zombie fans here. Yeah, basically I think the rumors of the death of brick and mortar were slightly exaggerated, and actually statistics show that currently also in the US there is a higher number of retail chain stores opening than they are closing. Also, there has been quite a lot of excess retail space, especially in the US. So in 2015, for example, the statistics showed that the amount of retail space per capita in the US was almost 10 times as much as in Germany. So that says something about how much retail space there used to be. However, I'm not saying that retail is going to be business as usual. It's going to require some changes to stay in the game. There are going to be winners and losers. And of course, everybody rather would like to be a winner than a loser. We've seen some casualties, and I think in general, department stores have been taking the biggest hits. There's lots of competition from specialized retailers, from online commerce, but also especially from fast fashion. So there's been quite a lot of competitors jumping at the traditional department stores. There are some major trends affecting retail. One is urbanization. We see it here, for example, in Finland, with lots of these big box retailers actually moving into the city center, the big sports store, the big consumer electronics stores, and so on. And that puts a lot of pressure on actually using retail space in a good way. It's not anymore big boxes, fill them with stuff. Loads of stuff, and they will come. So you have to be more intelligent with the use of resources in retail. There's a lot of competition on price. So price is not the only factor, but people want to make a good deal. And it's easier than ever to compare prices because you have that information on your mobile. So you have to be efficient. You can charge a premium if you offer added value in other ways, with services or with experiences, but you still have to be competitive. And consumers want to decide how to shop. Sometimes you do research on the internet and then decide where to go and actually buy the stuff. Sometimes you place an order online and pick it up in the store. Sometimes we want home delivery. Sometimes we just rush into the nearest store and hope we can find what we urgently need. So there isn't going to be one shopping pattern, and only very few players will be able to focus on just one way of shopping. So we need to be versatile in what we can offer. Then different retail segments have their own specific challenges. And for example, groceries, something that we all know something about. We see some major trends here. The price pressure again from discounters have to be highly efficient to be able to offer a good deal. Lots of new eating trends, quite positive ones recently, with a lot of veggies, fresh food, but also food to go and kind of easy meal solutions for people who want a healthy choice but perhaps don't want to cook. And that again puts quite a lot of pressure on the supply chain because the goods need to be fresh. You need to master the supply chain to avoid waste, which is super costly and also not very ecological. And then, of course, we have e-grocery also in food, something that the traditional big retailers haven't been too enthusiastic to invest in because basically it's a costly business model and it's difficult to put that cost on the consumers. But that is a challenge the players need to be able to live with. We are all excited about all the new technologies that are out there. Unfortunately, here is where the boring academic steps in. We are a long way in retail still from reaching best practice in even using the kind of transactional sales data each and every retail company has access to. So I'm not even talking about loyalty data yet. I'm talking about those sales receipts. We sold 10 of these, we sold 15 of these. Even exploiting that data in a meaningful way. There are few companies that master all of these areas, which are the main sales and cost drivers in retail. So typically staff in grocery is about, let's say, 14% of revenue. So it's a big deal. Still, many retail stores do staff planning based on sales budgets, or best case, some rudimentary sales forecast. So we are very far from actually optimizing the staff availability with the actual consumer flow. In supply chain, which is my own kind of area, a lot of automation and optimization is already used, but still companies are struggling to implement, for example, automated store replenishment for fresh goods. So there are definitely vast opportunities in that area. And here, new technologies like machine learning to be able to actually use weather forecasts in demand forecasting actually provide results. And then we have the use of space. This is a precious resource, but in many retail companies, we still basically have maybe a few store formats. We have big stores, we have medium stores, and we have small stores. And they have pretty much the same assortment. Although we know people shop very differently in different regions, in different neighborhoods, depending on what competition you have locally. And we as supply chain people see that misses in assortment actually make it impossible to replenish stores efficiently. If you have items that are not moving, you can plan all you want, but they will still be dead in the store. So even in grocery, where you talk about fast-moving consumer goods, we have loads of products that are basically just sitting there and begging for someone to come and get them before they expire. So this is basically where we are today. Lots of opportunities without any miraculous new technologies. The gain here is that even by doing these kind of central core processes better, we can really step up the game in retail. So traditionally, there's been a trade-off between having a very wide assortment that is supposed to appeal to consumers wanting variety, and economies of scale, so being able to buy and supply very efficiently. By using the latest technologies to really do detailed optimizations of both assortment, space use, and supply, we can actually change the game, reduce the trade-off, be almost as efficient as the hard discounters, while still offering a very locally relevant assortment. It doesn't have to be the widest assortment. It has to be locally relevant to the shoppers who visit that store. Taking one step further is actually bringing these processes together and doing cross-functional optimization. Currently, these are usually isolated responsibilities. You have some guys who are responsible for store operations, efficiency in stores. You have some other people who are responsible for assortments and merchandising, and you have some people who are responsible for the supply chain. However, decisions made in each one of these have impacts on the other. So what we've seen, for example, is that in supply chain, you have high quality demand forecasts, and you also have forecasts of the goods flow. And by using these forecasts in store operations, you can actually reduce personnel costs by something like 15%, while actually increasing customer service. And if you combine merchandising information into supply chain planning, you can actually organize incoming deliveries so that they fit the store layout and minimize handling costs in the store. And in this way, you can actually reduce handling costs in store by 20%. Or by actually designing your planograms in store so that deliveries fit straight on the shelf, you can reduce out of stocks by 80% quite simply. So to summarize, here's the future of retail. We're going back in time. We're going back to the old days when the stores actually knew their clientele, cared about their clientele, offered services, offered products that were relevant to their clientele. The technology is already there. There are no excuses not to do this. The challenge is organizational. So pretty much like these Movember guys here, big organizations need to learn how to cooperate internally. So understand the strategy as a company, what we want to be to our customers, and then work together, supply chain, merchandising, buying, advertising, to be able to deliver throughout. Thank you.